a lot of women struggle to find their sexuality or their sexiness once they have to turn it on.
Exactly.
Use this. Oh, your little legs are so short.
All right.
I can do this.
I got it.
So there is something that men don't really talk about. It's called...
Do you view porn as cheating?
I don't, actually.
I don't either. What if you want your partner to do something differently in bed or to stop doing something? How do you frame that conversation?
Always lead with positivity.
The virgin whore complex.
Yes.
What is that for our listeners that have never heard that before?
I think we downplay sex and we downplay the healing properties that sex can bring, or just like the impact that sex can have.
What are other forms of intimacy?
Oh, man.
If you want to show the girlies like that have more stuff going on that they're used to, how we can do this. All right, guys, welcome back to the OnlyMoms Podcast. Today I have Coco, the conversational freak, in the house, and we are going to have some very freaky conversations. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Coco. She is a trailblazing intimacy and bedroom mobility expert, as well as a dedicated wellness advocate. With her innovative approach, she combines mobility techniques, self-care practices, and open dialogue to transform relationships across the country. Coco's work empowers individuals and couples to foster deep connections, seamlessly integrating physical wellness and emotional intimacy. Welcome.
You did that.
I had to get sexy with it.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is escalating in all
know.
the great ways.
Oh my gosh. So for a lot of our listeners that don't know, I do want to spit a quick fact before we get into this conversation. And we've got a few different topics, but apparently 10% of women have never experienced an orgasm, and 82% cannot reach orgasm by penetration alone. In all of my research, and I'm no doctor, but I am finding that a lot can be solved with, body and sex confidence and then different positioning.
Yes.
Which is where you come into play. Because a lot of us forget that. We might think that something's just wrong or broken.
And we don't feel like, again, because it's still, which is wild to me, it's still so taboo that we feel like we're the only ones going through things, especially when you have social media now where everybody's an Instagram model and everybody has it all together. So when you are going through these issues, it's like, is it just me? Do other women go through this? And I just try to highlight those insecurities, but things that we can just work on and we go through as women together.
Yeah.
Like, it is not just you. Even, listen, do not go on my Instagram and think that I have it all together. I just understand where my weaknesses are. And it's just understanding the weaknesses, bringing it to the forefront and working on it as a team when you do have a partner.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I feel like this conversation is so important to the mom community because, your sex life and your body is not expected to be the same post-baby. Your intimacy is not expected to be the same. And sometimes you have to rebuild that as a couple because you're truly going through shit, trying to keep a human alive. You're relearning and rebirthing yourself.
Yes.
And you get a lot of couples that are new parents, right?
Yes. They're not even only just new parents, they're also adjusting to a whole new life, especially if you didn't have children before. And now it's just like, I have to take care of myself, my partner, and this new child that I love so much, but I literally don't know you. Yeah. Like, I don't even know you yet. I'm trying to learn what your burps mean. Are you gassy? Are you constipated? Are you colicky? Is this my fault? So there's so much, I hear this a lot, like mom guilt, when they do take time to do something for them. And it's just like, oh, but what about this helpless little human that I brought into the world? So then there has to be that balance.
Yeah, there's mom guilt. And then there's like, you have to be a wife. You have to be a mom. You have to get in tune with yourself. There's so much that goes into it. a lot of people think when you say intimacy, they think sex.
Oh,
and that's not all of intimacy.
No.
Okay, let's dive into that first. Like, what are other forms of intimacy to build on, and then you're probably creating a better sex life? But like, what are those forms of intimacy as a couple?
So let's look at the word intimacy first. It just means closeness. So being close, whatever that may mean to you, physically, mentally, emotionally. You have to know your partner in terms of, what does intimacy look like for my wife? That may look like, oh my God, she may get turned on because you're holding the baby after you just cooked dinner, where she's just trying to catch up on sleep. And now that she's well rested because you stepped in as a partner, she's just like, you know what, go ahead and put that baby down because I'm about to put it down on you. So it's about understanding, what does intimacy look like for that partner, for her to be in a state where she's relaxed. And I feel like a lot of men make this mistake in terms of just trying, where they'll think of all the different ways, but that may not be what she needs at that moment. So really understanding that, and understanding she needs her me time. And just saying, hey, I don't know what you're gonna do for 2 hours, but I need you to leave the house. Go do something for yourself. I booked you a massage, whatever it is, but to step in and just feel like, okay, he got it. All right, I'm gonna have you later.
Right. I love that, because that is one thing that postpartum I actually struggled with. It's like, I can't be forced to be this mom, to be a mom all day. And then as soon as the kids go to sleep, you're expected to be this wife. And it's not just a wife. It's like, it's nighttime, it's sex time, be sexy, do this. And it's like, I'm leaking milk. I probably haven't showered. Like, you know, all of these things. And there has to be something that kind of warms me up, or like brings me back into that zone, because that immediate turnover isn't as quick when you have kids.
And do not be afraid to schedule sex.
Oh, that's such a big,
because the thing is, with a new child, you can say, okay, I'll catch you in the morning, but that child wakes up with a 101 fever, and now it becomes all about the child again. And what I feel like a lot of moms don't talk about, and a few moms have told me, where they begin to resent the child in terms of, you know, me and your dad were great before you came along, that type of thing. But because you're supposed to be this perfect mom, they don't talk about it. And now it's just like, listen, I've taken care of this child. I have cooked dinner. I have been a wife and a mother all day. And now you want me to be your little porn star? Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not. Now, if I know tomorrow around 12, your mom's come and get the baby and it's just going to be us, you can schedule that time then, because you know that child is no longer there for like those 1 or 2 hours. It's about you and that partner, but you have to be on the same page with communication.
Yeah, I agree, because I'm all for scheduled sex. I think that, look, I have everything else on my schedule. I'm like, that's important to our relationship. It needs to happen. And it's not that I need to have this major prep, but maybe I want to shave my fucking legs.
Yeah.
You know, like something
you just want to come
simple.
up on me, and it's just like, one, I have not showered. Ew. And that unexpectedness, it causes anxiety, because it's just like, don't get me wrong. Yes, I can get horny now, but now I'm wondering, okay, if you try to eat me out, if you try to do this, I feel like, okay, what if my vagina's, you know, not that ripe right now?
Right.
And it's like, now I have to think about, now I feel like a new mom. I'm getting used to my body. Now my vagina has not been washed all day. And now you want to hit it. And I'm trying to run.
Yeah.
And now it's just, but if I know, okay, at 2 p.m., I can prep, I can feel sexy, I can do all the things then.
Yes. And it's not that deep. It's just a little tweaks and a little bit more time to come in and just feel somewhat like yourself.
Yes. And fellas, let me just say this for the dads who are listening, for the husbands. We appreciate you when you say, we don't care, we love you how you are. Thank you. But it's one of those, I don't need to hear that.
Yes.
I just need to hear whatever makes you feel sexy. That is not, we have to feel it. No matter how much that does not mean stop telling us. Please continue to tell us. But allow us the space to just feel how we feel in that moment and support us in what may make us feel better.
No, I love that piece of advice. So any guys that are listening, please jot that one down. One thing I want to chat about is like, your industry, specifically with the classes that you're teaching, and because it does highlight sex. I feel like sex almost overpowers what you're actually doing. And that is education and relationship building. I mean, just from your Instagram, of course, I got sex and sexy, but I was so happy to scroll upon like, oh, riding for people with bad knees. Like, y'all, I'm a runner, okay? These knees are not like they used to be. And I was like, I do need to use my heels. You're right.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Use your heels. Like when people talk about the bouncing up and down, I'm like, you're doing that by yourself because even I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. No. Right. You're getting these heels, baby.
All heels, all heels. No, I love that. But you're teaching so much more outside of sex. And I think that there is one conversation that's so big, and it's creating that safe space to stay open-minded towards sex. And then also to let your partner know what it is that you want.
Absolutely.
So what, as far as suggestions, do you think that sounds like?
Let me say this, and it's going to sound so simple, but stay with me and it's going to make sense. So when you and your partner are like watching a movie and a sex scene comes on, let me tell you something about men. Just because they don't speak on something doesn't mean they're not paying attention. They pay attention to what you say, your opinions, all of the things. So let's say a sex scene comes up, right? And you're like, oh, I would never. Oh, she's so, and you start getting judgy. He's paying attention to that even though he's not saying anything. And then it's going to make him more closed-minded as to how he expresses himself to you.
Got it.
Because it could have been something he wanted to try and was just like, oh, that kind of, it's a little freaky. That's outside of, but I would be willing. But when you completely just dismissed and you judged her, now he's going to completely just be like, you know what? I already see where that would go. I'm glad I didn't say anything. As opposed to, oh, that's different, babe. What do you think about that? And giving them the space to just kind of be like, they're going to test the waters and be like, I don't know. What do you think? Right. And just staying open-minded and just saying, hey, I'd try almost anything once.
Right.
And that, okay, maybe I can have this conversation with her. But just being mindful of how you judge certain things will almost kind of tell your partner what they can and cannot bring to you.
What if you want your partner to do something differently in bed or to stop doing something? How do you frame that conversation?
You always lead with positivity.
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean, let's say there's something that you love that he does, where it's just like, babe, I love when you suck my baby toe because it just feels so amazing. But you know what I could do without, you know, that other thing, it just doesn't do much for me. But that baby toe, baby, keep doing that because it brings me all the pleasure. So on top of that, what do you think if we try this?
Right.
Now I'm telling you, stay away from this. I love this, and this is what I want to add.
Got it. And it almost too like keeps I don't want to say keeps the conversation going, but like mentally they're not stuck on that negative comment anymore. Now we're getting into an exploratory avenue where they have room to make suggestions or like say what they want to try. And so I love that because we're not focusing and staying in one area of negativity.
And I always say have a check-in with your partner, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's once a month, once a quarter. Because as you get older, as the hormones change, as the kids come into play, sex will look different in every season of your life. So that question of, hey, babe, with the kids and all of this, what does sex mean to you now? What does that look like? It may be something where you're blowing off steam now as opposed to it being a physical connection. So always just staying in the loop of what that may mean for them.
I love that. We often get asked, like my husband and I get asked, we're both business people. What is it that you take from business that you bring into your marriage? And I feel like we do quarterly reviews very much as you do them in your job. And it is important. It gives you a second to check in. And, you may be doing something that they find disrespectful that you didn't even realize, or we're not paying something as much attention as we used to, right? And it gives you that space to provide all types of feedback. Of course, start with that positive, as you mentioned, but again, check in. This is a business decision to be together, to build together, to do all of those things, and it should get the same time and respect as your job.
Yes, and keep a note folder in your phone, because sometimes there may be something that is super, super minute that happens in that moment where you just need to jot it down, because a month later, you're not going to remember until you get triggered by something else. And now you end up being the person who's just like, well, a month ago you did this and it made me, well, why didn't you say something? Well, I forgot until you triggered me again. But keeping those notes for your reviews.
Yeah. You guys, one thing that I found on Coco's reviews, and I found it as a mom, like it really hit home for me, the work that you're doing for couples, because there was a couple that had struggled with a few losses, a few miscarriages, and they had written in, the husband actually, and you know, he said that, you know, post those losses, they had been struggling to regain intimacy, and rightfully so, right? Like they're both,
that's a trauma.
They're both in such a different headspace, but they knew they wanted to work on it together. And they said that it was life-changing for them, your class, on just giving them a space to put everything else aside. You're in this room, you have someone kind of guiding you through things that you haven't been in a position to do recently, and you're really doing great work.
Thank you.
With couples beyond, oh, I just want to feel sexy, or like, oh, we're just in a different season. Like it's deeper than that.
And one thing that couples struggle with is the fact that people communicate differently and they perceive a message differently. So your partner may be listening and hearing, but are they comprehending the message that you're trying to relay? And this has happened in my relationship so many times, where we've gotten it down now, where we clarify. We're like, well, you said this and I'm taking it this way. Is this what you meant? Because now if you just take it and run with it, and now it becomes something so different, you guys may end up in doggy style in a position where it's just like, you said you like this, not like this though.
Right.
So just really clarifying what each other means.
Yeah. All right, let's flip the script.
Wait, hold on. The way your tone just went, let's flip the script. I don't know what you guys are about to hear.
We're going to do a cheers. We haven't cheers. We've had a lot of really good hits, and we haven't cheers yet. So cheers to your class. Cheers to the work that you're doing with other couples. We are drinking the Mom Juice Rosé. And Coco, this will be your first drink. So I do want you to take a sip and tell us what you think. You can go ahead and look right at that camera.
I'm so excited. Guys, it's been a day. So when she offered me this rosé, I'm like, friend, I love you already. Okay, let's go.
Do you love it?
Where do we buy this? You know what? It's crisp. It gives you that wine, like, yeah, it's been a long day, but it's not like a, whoa, I can't take care of my children after.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what we were going for. I'm
Perfect.
glad you love
Nailed
it. Yeah, you can take the bottle home with you. I know.
Where else? Where else can you go to a podcast and they're like, just take the bottle home? OnlyMoms.
OnlyMoms. That's what it is. All right. We had to take a sip to get into this topic, loosen up a little bit, but let's talk about blowjobs.
Let's talk about blowjobs. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I was into it.
Okay, thank you.
First, how do we turn off the gag reflex, girl?
That's a secret. I got to teach you that off camera.
I know. Okay, we'll include a link. Anyone that wants to pay for the VIP access of the episode. No, I'm just kidding.
She might not be.
Right? Are you going to tell us?
Let me tell you how to work your gag reflex.
Okay.
So the purpose of a gag reflex is just the same thing as sneezing. It is your body telling you there is a foreign object that is obstructing your airway. So it causes you to just go up to let it out. Just like when dust goes up your nose, what do? You sneeze.
Got it.
Right? So for those who have a toothbrush, I hope everybody brushes their teeth twice a day. But grab that toothbrush, and when you're brushing your teeth, just go as far back as you can. You have to train the gag reflex to actually have like something there to kind of have that reaction so you can get used to it. So you can try this. Oh, do not try with a banana, because if that thing breaks, you do not want to actually lodge it in your throat. So please try it with a cucumber. It is nice and solid. It will not break in your throat. But you want to practice having that object just kind of just pass through there. And if you do gag, it's okay. You're in the privacy of your own bathroom. This is the point. It is the point of just getting used to that sensation.
Okay, got it. So you could like ease in with a toothbrush for a week and then we're moving on to the cucumber.
Yes.
Okay. And now, boom.
And now you're like, come here, Big Daddy.
Right. I'm ready to test this.
I'm ready to test this out.
What are your tips for giving the perfect blowjob?
Let me move my hair out the way. Listen, ladies, you want to give a great blowjob? Learn how to give understand the blowjob that you're giving in that moment, okay? Different blowjobs mean different things. It may be a stress-relieving blowjob where it's just like, listen, we got 10 minutes. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm just trying to make sure you go to sleep too. But then there's I appreciate you and your Big Daddy today, and I'm going to suck it like a porn star.
Right.
For example, if you are laying, you know the missionary position, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of him getting on top of you, he gets on top of your face. Mm-hmm. And he rides your face.
That's a good one.
And now, guys, this is so TMI. I love what I do when it comes to my partner. I'm so passionate about it. So the position, even when you are kneeling in front of them, right? You have to think of that power dynamic where they're like literally overpowering you and you're like in this little submissive state. Or I like to call this the blowjob Captain Morgan, where where he's standing up and his leg is like on something, whether it's the ottoman, the table. So now, depending on how freaky your guy is, you have more access to the backside, to the scrotum, to all of the things. And I always say this, use your hands. And I don't mean the double twist barrel with your hands around his penis. Explore his thighs, his inner thighs when you're in between his legs, right? Because now you're causing a whole body sensation instead of just focusing on that penis. You're focusing on the inner thighs. You're doing all the things. Even if you just come back up, look in his eyes, like a little sneaky smile and go back down.
Right. Ooh, I like that. I also too, and don't know if it's true, I guess I could ask my husband, but
I guess.
They say that they'll orgasm harder if you tug their balls a bit when they're orgasming. Yes. You know?
Because it's contracting.
Yeah. So it's the handwork.
Yes.
That really can take you above and beyond.
So people are so worried about, oh my God, I get this all the time. Oh my God, his penis is so big, it just doesn't fit in my mouth because my mouth is so small. You better corn on the cob that thing, okay? So you know how like the corn on the cob, how like you get it from the side and like you just use your hand to twist and do the side. So like even if you're holding it like this, but then you're working your mouth, it's still getting the full sensation. Just make sure you slob on that knob so it's not dry head.
Yeah.
So
one thing you did talk about before is the types of saliva for giving the best blowjob.
Yes.
Can you go over the two types?
I would absolutely love to.
I love to talk about saliva.
So there is something that men don't really talk about. It's called dry head. Mm-hmm. And you are using spit, but there are two types of saliva. You got the sticky icky, which is what I like to call it, which is more mucusy. So you got to think of it like your vagina, right? When you're getting wet, how it's super stringy, you have to create that same consistency in your mouth. So what I say is do a tongue sweep. Ooh. You want to do it right now?
Okay, let's do the tongue sweep.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your tongue.
Okay.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to sweep the back of your throat.
Oh.
And then sweep like your mouth. And then you'll actually start to feel your saliva glands start to just work. Mm-hmm. So as you're doing that, you're just creating more and more. Don't do too much because you will start to drool.
You're like, bitch, I see you still doing it. Like, you've gone too far.
Okay, listen, your husband's not here.
Right, right. We're not practicing anything else after it. Right.
Just the sensation of it like starting to work, right?
Yeah.
So this is how you know if it's going to be dry or not. If you spit and it just goes plop, you didn't do a good job. But if you spit and it starts to just kind of hang, that's where you got them. That's where you get them.
Right. If you're in the act too, like if you're already doing it and this isn't the warm up where you can do the tongue exercises, just gag on that shit a little bit.
Or just keep your mouth open and just let him hit the back of your throat a little bit just to get it working. And then once it starts, and then you can go to town.
Okay. Got it.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
And for those who don't have the best technique,
yeah,
if you keep your mouth open, allow him to do the work while you play with his balls. So now you're doing less work.
Got it.
But you're still getting the sensation.
That's the starter blowjob.
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't know yet, and then they give you that little confidence boost, and you're like, it's already in my mouth.
All right.
I can do this.
I got it. How did you learn how to give a good blowjob? Do you feel like, I do feel like some people are just naturally more sexual, right? And so it comes natural. But do you feel like that there was like someone teach you this, right?
Honestly, I have always been someone who is very aware of other people. I give good blowjobs because of trauma. Figure that. Right. So because I grew up with two parents that I had to like really, really please, it made me so hyper aware of other people. So when I started, I would always pay attention to body language. How are you reacting? This is how you know if you're giving a good blowjob or not. There are two types of reactions you can get.
Okay, I'm ready.
You can get if his breathing is short, you're not doing that. Sorry, sis, you ain't doing it. But if it's a long, so it'll sound like this. If you like nick him, it'll be, you see how it's short? But if it's pleasurable, you'll get like like it's a long, like, okay. Oh my God. But if it's short, you may want to come up for a little air, girl, and start over.
Let's do a reset. Do a reset.
It's okay.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. I want to dive in a little bit about your parents. You mentioned that you were trying to please them. Let's talk about that journey for you.
Yes. So for those who don't know, I'm Haitian, Caribbean. We were raised in the church, super religious. So sex was not a thing. Actually, what my dad used to tell me is nobody wants like a big girl. Where it's just like you have to. So I was always so stuck on body image. I was always so stuck on like, I was so aware of just like everything that I'm like, okay, I have to be the perfect wife. The first person I sleep with has to be my husband. So when at 15, I got sexually assaulted. So for trigger warning, y'all. So when he, stuck his hand up my dress, because I wasn't I was a virgin. And he was not, and he wanted to have sex. I was 15, he was 18. And he stuck his hand up my skirt and broke my hymen and was just like, well, you're not a virgin anymore. So I guess you can't have sex. I felt so broken, and I felt like any man that was willing to accept me because I wasn't a virgin, I had to just deal with. Wow. And I feel like a lot of women do tie their value to sex or what they can do. So for a long time, like in my early 20s, I just struggled so bad with like sexuality, relationships, knowing myself, knowing who I was, until I went to therapy and I gained a fucking attitude and was just like, listen, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I'd rather live my life for me and just whatever my values are and not feel like it has to be validated through a relationship or through a person.
Yeah, that's so important. We need to take a second to just cheers on your strength.
Thank you.
Because being able to say that story out loud already is tough.
Yeah.
And then to be where you are now with this vibrant career, teaching something that once was a negative aspect of your life is really brave.
And I don't want to go completely off topic, but this is for other women because I do get this a lot, especially from moms, from people who are with men that they truly want to please. Whatever your traumatic past is, do not allow anybody to push you past your comfort zone, but just be aware of what your triggers are. Because at 19, I had someone pull me into the bathroom to give them a blowjob after I said no. So for a long time, I could not deal with someone putting their hand in the back of my head. And so many women say that.
Yeah.
Where they can't handle it. And now when I was aware of that trigger, I communicated with my partner, listen, this is something that I'm working on. And they were able to understand. I eventually was able to work my way there. And now I teach people how to suck dick real good. But you can go from trauma to being something in your relationship that you did conquer and get over.
Yeah.
And it's not get over, like forget it, but I'm not going to allow this part of my life become something that holds me back to this beautiful part of my life.
No, that's very well said. Very well said. On season 1, we actually did talk about the transition of growing up religious or in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you turn into a wife, you're expected to just be a sex kitten.
Yes.
And it's so opposite of what was ingrained in you and taught to you your entire life. You know, your dad is saying these things to you. In most cases, it's even beyond body image. It's a sin.
Yes.
And so a lot of women struggle to find their sexuality or their sexiness once they have to turn it on.
Exactly.
What, you said therapy. Were there any tools that your therapist gave you that really helped you come into that, or any best practices for women that might be in that transition of their life?
Yes. So one thing she told me is keep a journal. At first, she wanted me to write all my negative thoughts in a day, like just write it down, just to be aware of like, this is how much goes through your mind. But then she would tell me for every negative thought, immediately I want you to think of something positive, where it's just like, oh, well, I didn't initiate sex today. Okay, but the positive thing is tomorrow I have another opportunity to be able to. So how am I going to change that? Or I have an opportunity to talk to my partner about this is something that I struggle with. And how is this going to make me better?
Right.
So that's something that definitely helped me a lot.
Journaling. It sounds like such a simple answer, but it is the answer to a lot of trauma.
Listen, when you're able to like see it, or sometimes it's not even in the moment. It's when you go back like 3 months prior and you're like, wow, this is the space I was in.
That is deep.
Damn, girl, what were you going through?
Right, like you did that. We're on the other side.
And now it makes you want to journal that day like, I am so grateful I am not in that space anymore. So then it becomes this trend. So the first time you journal, let me say this, it may be a little weird because you're like, okay, so what am I supposed to say?
Right.
What am I supposed to... Whatever you want. If it could be 3 words, fuck that hoe. And if you feel better after that, that is perfectly fine. And now it's like, okay, what about that hoe that just made you say
right,
fuck
the next day, we can dive into the hoe.
Yeah.
One thing that I loved in learning about your classes is that I love that you were teaching it, but it was so sad to me to hear. But a lot of women are insecure riding. Yes. And I think it really, the way I want to angle this is it pertains to new moms, right? When you start having sex after baby and you might want to ride because you enjoy that position, or your husband or your partner is asking you to ride, you know, you don't feel as secure as you used to. Things look different. They feel different. And you teach a lot of women some techniques, especially like postpartum. What if the belly is a little bit bigger than you're used to? And so those of you that are watching the visual, you're going to get a little lesson. If you're just listening, I'm sorry, you're going to have to find us on YouTube, Spotify, right? Like the platforms where you can see this. But I'm excited to show our guests. You're going to do a little tutorial with me. So let's fire that up.
Yes.
Love that. I love that.
Thank you.
If you want to show the girlies like that have some stuff, more stuff going on that they're used to, how we can do this.
So you're going to be
I'm going to be your muse. So for the mom that we've got a little more up front and you might not feel as good with your positioning, she's going to teach us how to ride.
Yes. So I'm the man in this scenario.
So this is perfect on the couch because I feel like a lot of people like, how do I spice it up outside of the bedroom? Go on the couch.
Right. No, I agree with that.
So what you're going to do, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
This is going to be my fake Coco body.
Okay.
So what you can do is go with your legs straight. Like just sit with your legs straight, right? So I'm the guy. So again, I always talk about your partner helping you.
Right.
So if your partner is here, right, and you're angled, so angle your body, put that arm this way.
This way?
Yes. Bring this arm here. Do you see the you see the flat
I just hit it all. This one arm back here.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, I feel great.
Your angle's perfect. So me as the guy, right? Your partner has to know his body as well. What I would do is take this leg.
Okay. Oh.
Now, do you see how, look at the camera. Do you see how now it covers your stomach?
Yes.
But now, if he comes in closer, right?
Okay.
Now, if you're body to body, bring this arm on my shoulder here. Do you see how now his leg completely covers?
Oh my gosh. You don't have to focus on shit now.
None.
That's
And
great.
what it can do is, if you have a little sag, the boob can actually
put it
sit.
right up on the, give it a shelf.
Give it a shelf.
Look, she said that riding is not all your responsibility, and I agree.
You see my leg? This would be the guy's leg. So even if you took your leg and put it under the guy's, this could be a great position for you here, right?
Okay.
Also, if you want to get a little like, ooh, spicy, but not feel the spiciness in your body, take this leg,
Okay.
and now you're here.
Oh.
So now what? But do you see now how you just covered your boob and your stomach by just doing this?
Yeah.
Now, use that arm, put this here, and thrust up.
Oh, now
So
we
now
got
if
a lot
he's here,
of... Wow.
but if he's strong, he can actually just be here.
Oh.
And now he's actually doing all the work while you ride, but if his stroke is bad, what you're going to do is you're going to hold my shoulder down with this leg.
Got
and now
it.
use this. Oh, your little legs are so short. But what you can do is, like, you see how you're using your foot to do this? Now you can control the stroke.
Right. Got it.
Boom.
Boom. That is the best. I mean, like, I want to be close to you, but I want to hide my shit right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so
And
good.
now you're close. You're intimate, but you don't have to feel insecure by being so vulnerable with what your body is at that moment.
I love that. So this is what you will learn in her class, y'all, and I encourage you to take it. She is going on tour. We are going to link it based on when this episode drops on where you'll be.
And I don't know if you want me to announce this.
Feel free.
We may have something with OnlyMoms for the moms.
A little mom juice.
Little
a little
mom juice.
Positioning. Why not?
But the only way to find out is if you stay tuned. Stay tuned to stay in the loop.
I love it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Coco, thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Please, before you go, I want you to tell everyone the classes that you are teaching currently in Atlanta and then how they can find you and book you out.
So, again, like she said so articulately, my name is Coco, the Conversational Freak, and you can find me on Instagram at The Conversational Freak. We have classes in Atlanta once a month. I also am on a city tour right now. So we go to different cities, we do pop-ups, we do all of the things. We also have virtual classes for those who cannot come to our cities. That is perfectly fine. We do virtual classes for you guys as well. You can join our community at conversationalfreaks.com. You can see all of our replays. So when we're talking about angles, when we're talking about mobility, we do all of it together because if you fall, I fall with you because you will stand with me together. So
Welcome to season 2 of Only Moms. And you know I can't kick things off without a little treat from my favorites. So if you're new around here, let me fill you in. 4 years ago, with my amazing business partner, Kristen Taylor, I co-founded Mom Juice. We're all about keeping the bullshit out of wine, literally. We're gluten-free and vegetarian. We also practice ingredient transparency by putting all of our ingredients on the back of the bottle. I know you might be giggling, but not all wine is vegetarian, okay? So you might just be drinking fish bladder, but that's none of my business. Here's the fun part. As your Only Mom sponsor, I'm here to hook you up with 20% off your next order. Just head over to momjuicewine.com and use promo code ONLYMOMS to go and treat yourself. You deserve it. Welcome back, Only Moms. Today I have Iman Brewton on the podcast. Iman was raised in Milton, Florida. She earned her degree in sociology from FSU. Her journey into yoga began as a way to manage anxiety after graduating from high school, and it has been a transformative practice in her life ever since. She's been dedicated to yoga since 2014 and became a certified instructor in 2017. In 2020, Iman made the bold decision to leave her job and pursue her passion full-time. She has a deep interest in health, healing, and self-study and is committed to living a life that aligns with her well-being on every level. So, Iman, to make this interview more exciting and engaging, I'm just gonna get back here and like make eye contact with you the entire time. Am I doing this correctly?
You're doing it perfectly.
Is this a good angle?
Listen, that arch is beautiful.
Okay, this is good.
That's great.
Are we connected?
We're connected.
Okay, let's get going.
Feeling it.
She's into it now, you guys. She's into it. So if you check out Iman's social media, you will see some sexy tips on how to keep intimacy alive, or even just so much as spicing up a position, right?
Exactly.
And I love that. Why don't we dive in first by telling our guests, telling our people what you actually teach.
So I teach yoga as one aspect of my classes. I primarily work with couples, and I utilize yoga, meditation, breath work, and so many other exercises to assist them with building intimacy outside of the bedroom. And I also work with women, and I utilize some of the same practices, so yoga, breathing, and meditation, and those types of tools to just help them to connect more with their sensuality.
Oh, that's so great. I feel like, we have a lot of sex conversations on the OnlyMoms podcast as it pertains to sex while pregnant, sex post-baby. And I was really shocked to learn that you get a lot of pregnant women in your classes.
Yes, I do. Throughout these 4 years that I've been teaching, I've had quite a few pregnant moms come at different stages. Usually they'll message me and ask, can I do this? I'm pregnant. And I'll make sure to let them know, consult with your doctor first, because we will be stretching and doing yoga poses. Although the poses and the stretches that we do are beginner friendly, it's nice to see them in there with their bellies and with their partners, supporting them throughout the class. And it honestly blows my mind because these women will be like pregnant, but they're still like rocking these moves and stretching and doing the poses just as good as anyone else. So it's interesting, and it's nice to see that women are like just defying the odds, because people assume if you're pregnant, you can't do too much, and there are certain hazards, things you have to be aware of, but they come to class and it's just nice to see them focus on them and their partners, even though they are pregnant. So
it's something too is that I feel like when you're pregnant, you go through stages, right? I went through a stage where I just didn't feel sexy because my body was changing so rapidly. And then I went through a stage where I was super sexual. And depending on where you are in your pregnancy journey, this can be something that you're prepping for, something so new that's coming to your life. You're doing other classes with your partner, but you're maybe not really connecting with your partner. It's so baby-centric and how you're going to move forward in the next chapter that the intimacy aspect, right, can be taken out of that. And so your class is so important because it can help us feel sexy again. It can help us be in the moment with your partner for a second, right? Like bring that fire back.
Exactly. That's what I love about it. And even before they have the baby, but I love getting moms who are, active and who are parenting, and because it can be a lot. And I don't have children myself, but, I have nieces, and I know I've worked with children, so I know how exhausting it can be, being a mom. So I also love to just have the moms in general come to class to take that time for themselves and their partner, because burnout can impact intimacy as well. Because if you're, burnt out, you may not be in the mood. Like you said, women go through those phases and stages of feeling sexy and not feeling sexy. So,
yeah. Well, cheers to you and your classes. Today, Iman is drinking our Sauvignon Blanc. So I definitely want you to give it a try and let us know what you think.
Okay. That's really good.
And I will not lie that it's not as chilled as I would like it to be when I serve it.
If it was cold, it would be even better. But no, that's good. I don't do like the bitter type of, but that's perfect.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. All right, I want to dive into a topic that is like so juicy. Okay. But when you hear people say sex isn't the most important thing in their relationship, what is your opinion on that?
So I do not agree with that. I think we downplay sex, and we downplay the healing properties that sex can bring, or just like the impact that sex can have
on our overall well-being. So it's not just a physical experience. I know for me personally, I have had sexual experiences where I like released emotions. So it was a very healing thing for me. And it's a way for you to, connect with your partner. And in the classes that I teach as well, although for one class, sex isn't the focus, that energy can come up and it can help you to ignite those feelings and have them be a little bit more stronger, if that makes sense. So I don't agree with the notion that sex is not important. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's one of the layers of a relationship. I think it's one of the layers that people should be intentional about because it's still a part of the overall health of the relationship as well.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that a lot of people that say, it may not be the first, right? There's respect, there's trust. And then I think that your intimacy and your sexual energy together is very important. It's in the top 5, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of people that say that have never experienced a relationship where they're not getting sex.
Yes.
Because that brings out a whole nother type of human. If you're not getting sex, you're then start wondering why you're not getting sex. You could turn insecure. You might start moving differently, right? Like it can turn you into a whole different you. And it's not until you experience that type of relationship where you realize how important it is and how important it is to regain that sexual bond throughout a marriage.
Exactly.
Because marriage is forever.
Yeah.
And you will have to take moments to work on getting that back.
Exactly. And I actually did a quiz. It was like an anonymous quiz for couples. And I had like over 100 people respond to the quiz. And I pretty much had it categorized into different areas. So like mental intimacy, physical, emotional. And physical intimacy actually fell to the bottom in regards to like couples being satisfied.
Wow.
And a lot of the couples who responded and were together for 5+ years. So I do understand that is an aspect that people are neglecting, but I don't think they should. And we often do hear that notion like, looks doesn't matter, sex doesn't matter, but these things do matter and they should be, important to you in your relationship.
No, I agree. And it's interesting as I do feel like it is almost accepted in America that like, oh, you get older, like you just don't have as much sex, the spark is gone, but you keep powering through and you make it happen. And we don't have to live like that.
Exactly.
When I was researching you, I was surprised you get all age categories in your classes.
All age categories. When I tell you that's been so amazing to witness, especially like the older couples. I love having them in class because we are doing a lot of physical based exercises too. And, just like with pregnant women, people will categorize older people and assume, oh, y'all shouldn't be, getting spicy. Some of us are like, I can't think of my grandma, doing,
I know.
You know what I mean? But people are still human and people still have those sexual feelings and emotions that come up and the desire to bond with their partner. And I will say another thing, I have gotten couples who have been together for like 20 years. And one lady told me in particular, she said she felt a renewed sense of who they were as a couple after taking my class. So it warms my heart because it's like, it doesn't matter what stage you're in your relationship, how long you've been together, you can get something from my classes.
Yeah.
So yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right?
I want to talk, you don't speak on it often, but there is a topic, the virgin whore complex.
Yes.
What is that for our listeners that have never heard that before?
So the virgin whore complex is pretty much this like psychological mentality. I forgot who coined the term, I can't remember, but pretty much is where people box women into the two categories of being a virgin, super innocent woman or a complete whore. It's like those two large contrasts are kind of how people see women, and there's no middle ground. It's either you're this or that. And usually whenever men get married, it's hard for them to see their woman as, I guess, the whore or a sexual being. It's like some men will hold back from doing certain things because, oh, this is my wife or whatever the case may be. I can only see her in this light. Like, it's hard for men to see women as sexual beings without thinking of them as being whores.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because I feel like you have to be in a great space with your partner to tell them the different things that you want to explore sexually.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And one of the things that I remember telling my husband is like, yeah, I'm asking you to do those things and it might feel disrespectful, but truly you're the only one that's allowed to disrespect me.
Right.
And I think that clicked for him because he was like, oh, yeah, right? Like that makes sense. You know, this isn't me treating you this is what you like.
Exactly. And that's an important aspect too, having those conversations. Because a lot of people, based on that quiz that I did as well, going back to that, people aren't communicating what they like. You know, people are just kind of keeping things to themselves. And I get it, because sex can be kind of an egoic thing. And it's like, if you feel like you're not pleasing your partner right, it's like, well, what am I doing? And their insecurities can arise. But I think it's important to have those conversations and communicate with your partner. No, I like these things. Like, do this to me. I don't want you to, slut me out.
Yeah, right? Like, that. Turn me out.
Exactly.
It's crazy because I feel like when I was like wanting to try something new, and I made this more comfortable for my husband to do the same, but I didn't necessarily know how to have the conversation at first. So when he would go on a business trip, I would just send him porn. And I would say, I want you to try this on me.
Right.
And he was really like receptive to that information.
Yeah.
He'd come home. I didn't have to talk about it. Didn't have to ask. And he's like, got it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a technique. Like, I'm no sex therapist, but it worked for us. And might be a way of like get almost like.
Yeah, I just made a video about that, talking about porn and if it's harmful or helpful. And that way it can be helpful. Like, you can utilize it for educational purposes and just to show your partner, hey, let's try this or do something different. So in those ways, I think it can be it helped me in certain aspects as well. So
porn is such a touchy topic.
Very touchy, yes.
Because everyone has a different opinion. What are the hurtful? What did you have on your hurtful list?
So on the hurtful list is definitely just unrealistic. It's not like it's very like performative based. And there's nothing wrong with performing during sex. I think that's a layer in an aspect of it. But I think having that be the center and focal point of a lot of the porn on mainstream, the mainstream porn at least, it can give people just these unrealistic ideas about sex, about a woman's body, about what women like, so on and so forth. And sometimes it can be very male-centered.
Yeah.
There's no diversity with a lot of it. So in those ways, I think it can be very harmful.
Do you view porn as cheating?
I don't, actually.
I don't either.
Right, yeah. I know some people do.
They do.
Yeah, that is a very real thing. But I don't view it as cheating. I think especially if it's something that you communicate with your partner ahead of time, like, hey, I'm into this, and so on and so forth, or they communicate to you, then no, I don't think it's cheating.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right. And I would love to talk to someone that does, right? Like their standpoint on it and like why they're so passionate about that being cheating. I think in my mind, if my husband is busy and I'm also busy, I am so okay with him watching porn rather than like actually being with someone else.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's actually, I think that's a real aspect of it too. And another thing I meant to mention that I think is harmful about the porn is the lack of intimacy. So you will definitely see that isn't really existent in the porn videos. Like there's no intimacy or connection. And those things are very noticeable. Yeah. So I think that's something that's kind of missing from a lot of it.
Yeah. As someone that enjoys porn, I will say that we were going through a season where we were so busy, I was watching more porn. And when I had sex with my husband, call it like a week or 2 weeks, whatever that was, I will say, I was like, holy shit, this is so much better because of the lack of intimacy. And you don't realize that you're almost like desensitizing yourself with porn unless you have both available, right, to see the difference. And so I do see, like when we talk about it being harmful, I think like there's like addiction.
Yes.
And then there's like right before that could still be the amount of porn that desensitizes you.
Exactly.
And you have to find a fine middle where this is just a sexual outlet or something I do fun with my partner.
Exactly.
And create boundaries around it, then it can be a healthy tool.
Very much so. That balance is needed.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You said something that really wanted me to strike up this conversation, but you said like very performance based. And I wanted to talk about the difference in sex in your 20s and the difference in sex in your 30s.
Ooh, a major difference.
Yeah?
Yes.
Tell me.
I will say, I will never forget. I don't remember where I heard this from, but someone said that women, like our sex drive, it increases as we get older. I remember hearing that when I was super young and I was like, oh, okay. And that always stuck with me. And now I'm 32, but within these past at least 5 years, maybe shorter, my sexual experiences have gotten better the older that I get. 20s, it was, cool. I didn't have my first orgasm until like college type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a learning experience. But now being in my 30s and me being more sure of myself, being more confident, just feeling more connected to myself, sex is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like sex is better in my 30s. I think that in my 20s, it wasn't that I was having bad sex, but I was performing, right? Whereas it maybe I did come, but it wasn't for my pleasure.
Yes.
Right? Where now it's like, no, this is very much for the both of us. And I will perform when it's my time to perform, but then I need you to perform.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, this is 50-50.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly. That's so true. I didn't even think about it from that aspect. When we're young, we are kind of approaching it probably from porn. Because a lot of us have watched it, at a young age, and we're like, oh, okay. And we assume, and even the movies, everything is so dramatic. Everything's rip the clothes off, push you to the wall.
Right.
Everything's so dramatic. But so I think a lot of us are doing that whenever we're in our 20s.
When we talk about the movies too, it's like, oh my God, shower sex looks so appealing in the movies.
I don't like it.
It's scary.
I don't like it.
Do you want to know what it would be like to fall in the shower?
Oh my God.
I am naked and afraid.
Right.
Listen, what?
It's so overrated. Oh my gosh.
Yes. There's like a few things that I want to do in the shower, and I really don't want you to pick me up. Even if you've got a strong man, like you can slip.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So sex in our 30s, and I know you're 32, I'm 34. And so it's not like we've lived out these like
we're super fresh.
I know, super fresh in our 30s, but we had to touch on this. Like, it's better, okay? I like it here.
We just got here, but hey, we love it.
I know, right? Oh, how often are you doing Kegels?
Oh my goodness, as often as I can. Like whenever I can remember, I'm doing them. Kegels have improved my sexual experience, even just me connecting to my sensuality and sexuality. So outside of sex, when I do Kegels, and I kind of like do breathing exercises with it. So I like incorporated like yoga and meditation with the Kegels, and oh my goodness, like I can have orgasms just being in my own energy and being in my own space from doing Kegels.
Well, they do say that if you struggle to orgasm, but you can Kegel and almost like initiate that in your body, then you will orgasm. But you just have to be in the right headspace, and then you have to be in tune with yourself. You have to know how to Kegel. There's so much that goes into it where I think that everyone's like, oh, let me just start Kegeling into this orgasm. It's like, no, you have to like practice.
Exactly. Practice and be consistent and be intentional. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. I used to Kegel at every red light.
Right.
And
hey, I like that. Kegel at red lights.
Right. Are you Kegeling now?
No, I'm not. No. I was earlier when I was in the car. I did like a little meditation.
I saw it on my cue card and I did a few, and I was like, okay, you need to focus.
Right.
Like one or the other. Right.
Yes.
It also too, like, talk to me about what Kegels do for you as far as like strengthening your vagina walls.
Oh my goodness. So the feedback I've gotten has been like, whoa, like the guy would tell me, yeah, that's a pretty good grip.
Yeah.
On the penis or whatever. So in that aspect, whenever I am, engaging in sex and things of that nature, it's easier to like, how do I say it? It's easier to grip, essentially. And it feels better to me whenever I'm able to do that during sex, because it's just a different layer of pleasure for me. So that's what I've noticed so far in the sexual realm. Yeah.
Okay. We've talked a lot about sex. I want to highlight some of, if you were building back to this sexual place with your partner, what are other forms of intimacy?
Oh man, simply eye contact. So that's one of the exercises that I implement in my classes. So just taking 1 minute of not breaking your gaze and just looking into your partner's eyes, that can do wonders.
Wow.
And it's actually, eye contact can be intimidating, at times, especially during the act. But outside of that, just sitting there in silence is something that can be very helpful. Breathing together and actually, communicating and talking. I actually have a workbook for couples to utilize where they can, kind of write out a plan essentially about intimacy and how they want to build and work with that. But there are so many ways, stretching together, massaging. There's so many ways to cultivate intimacy outside of the bedroom.
I think that's really important for our audience because we do postpartum get into a space and some women are like, no, I bounced right back into it. I was so sexual afterwards.
Right.
But a lot of us find ourselves having to build back our sex drive because you're so focused on the baby. It's not even that I don't want to have sex. It's just I have other things to do.
Exactly.
And so trying to incorporate bits of intimacy into your everyday or your weekly practices that then make you feel sexier or feel more connected to then go have sex.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, I recommend it to couples because burnout is so real, and especially for parents. You guys experience it differently than a lot of people, in my opinion. So I've always been passionate about helping people who do have children because you have to work, you have to tend to your children, you have to tend to yourself. And so just taking 5 minutes to breathe with each other before you even get into sex can do wonders and allow you to build up to that energy because a lot of people aren't hot and ready to go. So.
That's a different type of foreplay.
Yes.
Grab his hands, breathe with me, baby.
Exactly. Breathe with me, baby.
Right.
And even just moaning together, outside of have them hold you and just moan in your partner's ear.
Wow.
Just type of stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I do in my classes as well. So I think it's very important to implement those things, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes to kind of build that energy back up. Yeah.
I love that. Any advice for your parents as they are, is there something that you've heard that specifically goes really well in your class that a lot of parents enjoy?
That's a good question. The affirmations.
Okay.
I notice I get a lot of great feedback with that. And I noticed that I've had some people cry during class,
wow.
which it touches my heart during the affirmation. So just taking time to speak life into your partner and let them know, hey, I see you, I appreciate you, I'm grateful for you. Having them speak those words into you and you just receive them.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of people really like that particular exercise.
That's a really good point. And a lot of if your love language isn't words for affirmation, maybe your partner doesn't do that often, right? And where to their defense, they haven't had to, right? You guys had more time to, pour into each other in different ways. And I think that exploring different love languages post-baby is something that is important as well. Exactly. I am physical touch. And I found that while I was breastfeeding, I was being touched so often that then it's when my husband would touch me, sometimes I felt overwhelmed. Yes. But I couldn't fault him for that because before the baby, that's how I wanted him to love me. I wanted him to, I want to be a pretzel into your body. I'm can we merge into one person?
Yes.
And so I'm geez, now I have to try to tell him like, whew, I'm having anxiety because I just have been touched all day.
Yeah.
You know? And so I do think that that's something important. And it sounds like in your classes, words of affirmation, physical touch,
yes.
right? Like those things are happening.
Yeah, we definitely explore so many different layers. And it was actually a client that helped me realize it. Like, she was like, I feel like I've gotten like all the, love languages just through this class alone. So we do go through different layers, and there's something, for someone, even if physical touch is not your thing, well, guess what? I have something else for you to explore. So I think that's very important, and I'm grateful to have that for couples and parents.
But even I read in your reviews, right? Like some husbands are gifting this to their wives, right?
Yes.
Like if your love language is a gift and an experience and that, then they're gifting it to their wives.
Exactly.
And it doesn't always have to be like, oh my gosh, we're in a bad place, we're just not having sex. There was, a lot of reviews that I was reading, they had gone through something, a loss or, something very personal that has just unaligned them. And I say forever is a long time all the time, but it truly is. And you're going to experience those things with your partner. And it is so important to like stop all the swirling around you and go do something like this.
Right. I just got super emotional because you just reminded me of a couple who they posted a public review, so I'm sure they don't mind, but they lost their daughter, and they came to my class afterwards, and they just said they had felt connected in a way that they hadn't due to that loss of their child. So that I cried like so hard when I read that review, and it just reminded me like, okay, because sometimes I'm like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I get insecure sometimes about my purpose and the things that I do. So just having that feedback and having those reviews from couples who are going through things, and even the couples who aren't, who still enjoy it, it's very moving to me, and I'm so grateful.
Well, Iman, cheers to the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Oh, cheers.
Yes, I love that. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
So you can go to IB Divine Yoga, IBDIVINEYOGA, all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you can go to my website, ibdivineyoga.com. Same thing, IBDIVINEYOGA.com.
Okay, and they can find the workbook there as well.
Yep, everything's on my website. Classes, workbooks, courses, and things like that.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It was a pleasure.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.